When Noctis was first announced, many people praised it due to its popularity and overall appeal of the character's gameplay. However, there were other part of the community that sparked what is now considered an ongoing debate and argument, which is Tekken becoming more flashier and slowly losing its grounded style gameplay. This was fueled even more when characters like Victor and Clive were introduced in the game, further straying away from what is considered a true Tekken game. This constant banter between flashy effects and grounded style gameplay has resulted in the birth of a topic and question that is still ongoing to this day. That is, what does true Tekken mean? Now before we begin, know that some of these may be my own opinion, and some information that I provide may not be concrete evidence, but I will try my best to get to the middle ground as much as possible. Many have this answer in the back of their heads, but the more they think about it, the answer slowly becomes complicated. Other issues like arguments about the pandas, Kangaroo and Yoshimitsu being unrealistic always been the excuse in deflecting the idea of grounded style gameplay. But what if those factors were also a part of true Tekken? To answer these questions, we need to take a trip back all the way to exactly Tekken 3. For Tekken 3, I just want you to take a look at this character selection menu. Can you feel the visual subliminal message the game is trying to tell you? The bombastic music about choosing a fighter, the metallic theme of graphics, the characters being visually appealing, diverse, and also a reference to Hollywood hitters. And stereotypical fiction representation. The gameplay in which it introduced many techniques, such as Korean backdash and Mishima wave dash. The game modes that further elongated its lifespan for a couch gaming experience. These are the factors that made Tekken a popular franchise as a whole, scoring 8.36 million copies. Unlike Tekken 1 or 2, which failed to compete against Virtua Fighter, Tekken 3 was its own work. Now, to be fair, the game wasn't as balanced as you might think. Characters like Ogre, his unblockable, unbreakable grab, unavoidable traps, and could easily lead to combos that took away half of the opponent's health bar. Furthermore, Ogre possessed an unblockable one-hit KO move, making him a nightmare in both casual and competitive play. But despite those bad apples, it was the introduction of a great franchise. So looking at this game, we established the key points of what makes a true Tekken game. Those are: the music, very recognizable and memorable; the gameplay, fast-paced combat, grounded and realistic martial arts experience; the game modes, you never get tired of playing this game due to amount of content it has; the sound design, the grunt voice, the hit SFX, and the narrator played a huge role in this game. These factors were the main selling points that sold the franchise as a true Tekken game. The franchise had a bright future until the next installment came in, which tried to completely change the definition and replace everything. Tekken 4 firstly introduces you with its new cinematic intro every time you insert the game onto PS2. Now, I'm not going deep into the details, but to summarize, instead of the fast-paced cutscenes, the game reintroduces its old character by showing him fighting off Tekken forces while slowly cutting off to new characters. The cutscene ends with Mr. Bagoosh punching the cameraman, stating, this intro alone tells a lot about what kind of Tekken game is going to be. A more serious tone, vengeance, and power are main story themes of this game. At first it may look like Tekken 4 menu has gotten some visual upgrades. Instead of the pitch black background, Colorful text and huge logo. Everything is laid back nicely, with a new box visualizing what you are choosing with a detailed explanation of said mode. It seems pretty nice and a good upgrade, but something is definitely wrong. Going into character select, it reveals its message.
Welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 4.
There isn't a bombastic music, but rather an atmospheric guitar noise. Everything is foggy, except the portrait of characters. The game is going for a more immersive story setting, rather than being a video game as a standard. Tekken 4 has implemented proper story mode, where you simply play the game for the sake of ending cutscenes of characters. As for the old arcade mode, it simply lets you set a high score just like those arcade machines, which makes sense. All the game modes we know and love are there too, with new additions such as training mode. But my most favorite one is the new version of Tekken Force, which has been remastered and is now more immersive. Now I'm not going to delve too much into what makes Tekken 4 completely separate from both new and previous titles. I know many content creators made an entire video glazing Tekken 4's theme and settings. So now we reach to a much more serious question. Does this game meet all the True Tekken criteria that the previous game established? The answer is yes, but with few flaws. The game lacks proper engaging music, which is very unfortunate. It's all atmospheric and moody. The sound effects are same, but with its pitch low. The voices however got a fresh new lines, which is nice. The graphics, arguably the biggest glow up, if you ask me. Characters are far more expressive and engaging than ever. But gameplay is where Tekken 4 shines. It has introduced interactable stages, where walls and obstacles can be used to slam your opponent off, dealing extra damage, but it was poorly implemented, so you could pretty much exploit it. The selection of game modes have also expanded 9 modes, which is amazing, elongating the lifespan even further. As for balance, well, it was Tekken 3, but worse. After cooking Ogre for dinner and getting shot by Heihachi, Jin became the next menace in haunting casual and competitive play. He was fast, dealt a lot of damage, and most importantly, his just frame laser annihilator absolutely cooked everyone. The immersive stages didn't help either. Many characters were capable of doing infinite combos the moment you are cornered and launched. Now, despite fulfilling 3 criterias for a true Tekken game, why did it fail? Well, the game was creepy. I'm joking, but I'll summarize it. The environmental hazards were unpopular. The roster was very small, with fan favorites like Anna being absent, the funny diaper. Last but not least, the game had a much darker tone compared to Tekken 3's light-hearted themes and settings. Basically, Gon wasn't there. The backlash was severe, that Harada had stressed out to the point that he developed mysterious condition where his hair started to fall, leaving the Tekken project for an entire year. Despite not having a good music, it still managed to be the next true Tekken game nonetheless. It has game modes, good SFX, and grounded martial arts. Tekken 4 eventually got a cult following for its experimental approach, unique art design, and more developed story. Some fans now appreciate its ambition and the risks it took, even if those risks did not pay off at the time. After Harada took an entire year of hiatus, Namco called him back, yearning for good old days of what made it work in the first place. Tekken 5 starts really hard, like him talking feel free to share this shit bro. Arguably one of the best intros in a Tekken franchise.
Heihachi Mishima is dead.
But wait. There's more. The second part of the intro introduces you to the lighter and heroic side of the game, as well as introducing new characters like Asuka and Feng, while also returning characters like Bacon Bruce and fan favorites like Anna, showcasing their shenanigans, capturing the essence of grounded martial arts and the Hollywood relief, something Tekken is known for. But possibly the biggest highlight of this intro was introducing Devil Jin, or basically, Tekken 3 Jin in a new coat of paint, and introduction of a new boss, Jinpachi. So after watching the intro and pressing start, the main menu shows a more positive atmosphere, the tournament hall with a huge screen, the lights going left and right, the kind of music you would hear when the game awaits your response to choose, and an amazing amount of game modes to try on with some to unlock by playing the game. This was a whole package in one CD. It's almost like they've looked at what was successful at first and decided to stick and improve on that instead of risking it. Another amazing thing about this game is the introduction of customization. That's right, you can now customize your character according to what you like to put on too, anchoring a new core tenet for True Tekken factors. Tekken 5 character select follows the same principle of Tekken 3, but in a different manner. Instead of the metallic theme, you have an image background with an engaging music that is telling you to select your main, with renders of characters appearing each time you move your selection, showcasing the massive improvement over Tekken 3 and 4. Moving forward from character select, the beauty of Tekken music has returned yet again. Absolute memorable bangers to put in your Spotify playlist. The stages are far more beautiful and more engaging than ever. The graphics, still fine like wine and more expressive than ever. The gameplay, it's good old-fashioned Tekken 3, but even better. Even Tekken fundamentals have been refined. The game also upheld the standards of grounded martial arts, with new characters representing different styles. Even Tekken fundamentals have been refined. As for balance, I really don't know what to say. Let's see. After Jin made a havoc in Tekken 4,
Don't ask me for shit.
he was shot with severe nerfs in Tekken 5, making him completely useless. Steve has a move that locks you into a long ass stun animation, allowing him to repeat the process. Raven has an infinite wall carry move, and few characters had really good properties. Despite bad apples on that game too, Tekken 5 returned what Tekken 3 anchored the franchise as a whole. A true grounded Tekken game that still holds classic martial arts as its core identity, checking all the criteria required for a true Tekken game. Now I'm not going through Dark Resurrection as in my opinion. despite solving and introducing proper balance as the next criteria for a true Tekken game, as well as introducing 2 new and a returning character. The game was specifically designed for multiplayer only. This can be proven by the absence of a lot of game modes. A half-baked experience for those who wish for an offline content. However, to give it credit, it had its own quirks too. Every major stage music got a remix version. Plus you can unlock classic Tekken 5 stages by simply playing the game. Also Jinpachi was playable without the exploits. The game also managed to score 3.4 million copies sold worldwide, totaling to 9.6 million copies combined. The game was a massive success, so the devs started churning out the franchise, and this is where things got complicated. The intro starts a bit villainy, with Jin acting like one. What? Why Jin? Wasn't he the protagonist? I don't know. Executive choices. The camera cuts to Miguel, our new character. Along with Zafina, Leo, and a fat man somehow being faster than the speed of a bullet. You can tell already the game starts pretty confusing very quickly. The intro doesn't feature majority of the characters aside from few fan favorites. Then it shows a war between 2 conglomerates. Which then cuts to Kazura farming. Lastly, it shows Zafina opening an ancient door leading to the awakening of Azazel. Which then cuts to the logo, awaiting for you to press start. From first impression, I'm pretty sure you will immediately get confused about it. And I don't blame you. I expected something similar, you know, the bombastic music and such, but it isn't in this game. And the funniest part about this intro is that Lars isn't even shown, which is the main protagonist of this game. Okay. It can't be that bad, can it? Well, not really. Once you reach the main menu, the game would load a specific stage and put your desired character on it, idling while you scroll through menu, which in my opinion is really cool. But I wish the game had an original menu music instead of the stage. You could also put a customized version of your character on screen, which is a plus. You can also change the background to your desired choice, which is another plus. The menu itself doesn't convey any emotions. It's there, waiting, something like an MMO hub. After doing UI evaluation, let's see what this game offers. The first game mode it shows is the all-new scenario campaign mode. This is basically Tekken Force Mode 3.0, where both story mode and Tekken Force mode combine. It also rewards you unlockables for completing each stage. Online mode is what you think it is, being able to play against other people worldwide. It also has ranked mode too. As for offline mode, all the classic game modes are here and still kicking. What about customization? It is even better than before. The customization in this game is way too advanced for me to demonstrate. I simply don't know where to begin. All parts of the body have accessories or clothes you can try out. The customization here is an absolute highlight for Tekken 6. Okay. So we found out that Tekken 6 has a unique campaign mode, retains all classic game modes, and the customization here is just chef's kiss. So far so good. What about gameplay? The menu starts with a cheery atmosphere despite the rubbles of conflict, and surprisingly the metallic theme of the game has returned. This select menu does at least give you an idea of what kind of game it is. The setting is about two Mishimas having a conflict with each other. This is portrayed with the colors of red and blue and background of character select. So okay, we got an idea of what kind of game it is. What about the gameplay? The gameplay is similar to Tekken 5. But with new additions such as the bounding system. This mechanic changed entirely the way you juggle your opponents in the air, further extending your combos for maximum engagement and damage, which was quite revolutionary for its time. Another addition was the wall break, where if you punch the opponent hard enough on the wall, you break it while still committing combos to your opponent. Last addition I can think of is the new ground break. Similar to wall break, you simply slam your opponent on the ground, breaking it to reveal a completely different area to fight on. This time it was properly implemented and it works really well. The balance. Well, let's just say it followed a similar fate as Tekken 5. The game introduced new characters such as Bob, Leo, Miguel, Zafina and Lars. But out of all of them, Bob took the most spotlight. Let me show you how absurd Bob is. Bob has a 12 frame punish that had great range. 14 frame launch punisher. Safe poking with high frame advantages. And a move that can be delayed to further fool your opponent. Launching throw. Evasive launcher. Being a better Mishima. And gazillion 50/50 strings that pretty much makes the whole game a casino slot. Moving from gameplay, what about music? Unfortunately, this is where the game loses a bit of charm. Majority of stages in this game have some of the most forgettable music ever. There is no energy, no beats to dance on. It's like it's just there, filling the empty gap for the sake of filling. However, despite all of that, the game does have absolute memorable bangers, such as Manji Valley, Fallen Colony, Anger of the Earth, Rustic Asia, High Rollers Club, and lastly, the most popular and the most energizing music in Tekken history, Electric Fountain. So far everything I've mentioned was not bad at all, so you might be wondering, where is the bad stuff you mentioned before? Well my friends, this is where we begin with the cons. Aside from Leo, whom represents Bajiquan, and surprisingly Bob, whom represents freestyle karate, all the new characters do not possess real life martial arts, meaning they are more of a fictional flashy splashy moves. Zafina may be the closest to being similar to grounded martial arts, but her moves are more of a performance show than an actual fighting stance. Tekken 6 was the first game to experiment outside grounded martial arts, which was basically the patient zero for the True Tekken argument. The second cons is balance. Picture this. It's July 2011. Just 1 month away for the greatest tragedy about to happen. EVO Evolution Championship was announced, and you're looking at the grand finals. You wonder about the characters the pros used for the finals. You take a peep. And it's Bob. 4 Bobs. That's right folks, Bob was a menacing competitive scene of Tekken 6. He simply had everything in his disposal, and was a massive example of poor balancing flaw in Tekken 6, further tainting the game's reputation. Third con is graphics. Tekken 6 was poorly ported to PS3, resulting in terrible graphics and resolution of 576p, which hindered the beauty of the game. The arcade version still to this day have better graphics than the PS3 version. Fourth and finally, scenario campaign. While the game mode is very unique and captivating, it slowly becomes tedious and eventually boring to play. Grinding for costumes was necessary, since it had buffs on it. Bland environments, repetitive enemies, and frustrating boss fights plagued the game mode. To top it all off, the story was not good as well. The Azazel excuse for Jin's destructive ambition fell flat and uninspiring, further damaging the reputation. Last but not least, cutscene. Oh my gosh, the cutscenes. They're so long and tedious, it'll kill your mood for playing this game. Anyways, we've seen everything what this game offers, and so far we've got lots of goods and little bit of bads. The game, despite introducing characters outside martial arts, it did had previous characters following it. The sound effects and few voices got an overhaul upgrade. The music is okay. The game modes were still there, with the only replacement being scenario campaign. The customization is absolute peak. Balance is where it had Bob ruining it. All of these core tenets of True Tekken were available on Tekken 6, cementing this title as True Tekken game. The major problem with Tekken 6 in general was that it was at best a forgettable experience. Despite all that, Tekken 6 has sold between 5.6 million and 6 million copies worldwide across all platforms, making it a success nonetheless for the next title to shine on. Sorry to interrupt, but we are going to speedrun Tekken Tag 2. I know I skipped TT1, so here's a quick visual summary. Alright, we are going to speedrun Tag 2 because, while it is a spin-off, it contributed to the fate of franchise and Tekken 7 as a whole. So here we go. The intro starts pretty quirky. A taxi driver asks Jinpachi where does he wish to land. Jinpachi states the obvious after hearing the radio about the tournament. The scene cuts to the tournament center with hype music, then it quickly cuts to Kaz, Jin, Asuka and Lily rivalry very quickly, then it shows the tournament inside, where both Cuny and Raven are a farm in front of William's sisters. Anna fools Nina with the truce tactic and throws her front. But the fight gets interrupted by True Ogre, who is then interrupted by Angel, a character who dates back to Tekken 2 as a costume alternative for Devil Kaz. Both shoots laser at each other, with sick camera showcase. Then it cuts to the title.
Impressive. Very nice.
The menu is pretty cheery, with a surprisingly good UI. Very PlayStation. The 3D menu background changes every time you navigate between options. Unfortunately, you cannot change the background stage. For game modes and features, I'll just list all the available and new additions. The game had Arcade, Ghost, Versus, Team, Time Attack, Survival, Practice and new additions such as Pair Play, which allowed you to play tag as co-op. Fight Lab is also a new feature where it's a spin-off story about making the perfect fighter. By putting specific character moves into your combot, you can also use it and play other game modes with it. Tekken Tunes is what you think it is. You can switch music to your desired choices for specific stages, whether it's Tag 2 or from previous titles. Tekken Tag 2 is where unfortunately the customization wasn't as good as the previous title. It was sufficing enough, but what made it unique was the decal maker, similar to Black Ops 2's emblem editor, which was amazing. The character screen got a visual downgrade, but it's alright. It shows all the characters from all previous titles, with new additions such as Miharu and Tiger, whom used to be a costume alternative from previous titles, as well as Julia becoming a wrestler named JC. The graphics look way better now. The models and the textures look high quality and very expressive. While its bound system hasn't changed, the tag system did got a new bound system, where activating it throws your opponent on the air, switching immediately to your secondary character, and can only input one command. After that it switches back to your primary for an ender, completely changing the way you play the game. Few characters had secret moves such as Jin's Omen stance being only available if your second partner has relation to the Mishima family. Stage interactions have been expanded, such as kicking your opponent off the balcony, which leaves your opponent to your secondary character to combo. The music is also pretty great. There isn't really much to say here. What about True Tekken? Well, nothing has been changed. The game got few new moves, buffs and nerfs here and there. Plus the basics of Tekken fundamentals are still there. Now on to the bad side of Tag 2. Balance was non-existent. Period. Combos were very long as well. The stages did not help either. Rage mode was very excessive, often giving you absurd levels of damage. 59 characters. Good luck labbing them. The game was released during the end times of PS3 and Xbox, where many players were holding their wallets for next-gen consoles, impacting the sales negatively. Lack of effective marketing. Many fans and potential players were unaware of its release or features, and the promotional strategy failed to generate broad excitement, despite the fact that it was the most advertised game in its early years. To conclude this speedrun, Tekken Tag 2, while may have achieved basic features of True Tekken such as martial arts, sound effects, music, game modes and customization, Tag 2 failed on balance. And even went as far as failing to meet Tekken 4 sales, which was an insane downfall that left Project 2 almost closing down. And don't get me started on Tekken Revolution. This left the project in shambles, which leaves Namco and Herida with enough budget one final push for the franchise. Tekken 7 starts really well, and the message is very clear in the beginning. The game will be about the fate of Mishimas, mainly Kaz and Heihachi and their struggle against each other. The game entails a beginning of an end. The music and the cutscenes illustrate what could be the final chapter for the family. Few characters from the roster also partake in this story. I know. What is Akuma doing in Tekken 7? Well, he's a guest character, and somehow made it into the story for some reason. From first impression, this is second to best Tekken intros of all time. It's emotional and bombastic at the same time, and its message is clear. Of what game will it be? Pressing enter will lead you to the menu. Now when it comes to looking at the menu for the first time, the music is quite emotional and captivating. You can pretty much tell the game's budget is barely there. The simple background image, the simplistic menu options and the little boxes of your ranks both offline and online, and the advertisement. However, do note that the menu eventually got a background change every season introduced, as well as the music. As for game modes, there is unfortunately only 8 game modes total, with one being a paid option. This was the first time Tekken could not deliver much on casuals. However, there were some few replacements such as Treasure Battle instead of Ghost and new additions such as Online Tournament mode and Tekken Bowl mode. Moving from menu, we first take a look at Mishima Saga, another unique story mode focusing on the long-running and violent feud within the Mishima family. This mode is presented from the perspective of a journalist investigating the origins and consequences of the Mishima clan's conflict, particularly the war between the Mishima Zaibatsu and G Corporation. While it was ambitious, the story did sort of felt flat, because it was all happening through the eyes of a journalist instead of main fighters, making the story unrelatable at best. However, there are few moments where the story does wonders, such as the final battle and the fight with Akuma. Gameplay wise, the game went through a lot of changes. Firstly, the new bound system is switched to screw style bound, giving more time and extension for your combo. It also introduced a new system known as the Power Crush. This move allowed you to absorb all mid and high attacks and interrupt your opponent, allowing you to escape pressure. Lastly, they've also introduced wall bounce, which bounce the opponent back from the wall, allowing you to combo midway. There was also meters, but those were exclusive to certain characters. The game introduced 6 new characters for players to try out. Those are Jikus, Josie, Katarina, Kazumi, Shaheen and Lucky Clo. As the game passed throughout the years, it added several characters from previous Tekken such as Anna, Lei, Marduk, Armor King, Julia, Zafina, Ganryu, and Kunimitsu, as well as new and guest invited characters such as Noctis, Negan, yes you heard me, Leroy, Farkamrum, and Lydia. Let's move on to character select. When choosing your desired mode, the game first asks you to choose player side. After selecting one, the game introduces you to the characters with the cheery music. However, the music changed every season, but we will stick with season 1. The background is filled with shattered glass, and each time you hover to a character, the game changes the render to said character, something as ancient as Tekken 5. Moving from that, Tekken 7 offers quite a great amount of good music. Some are super memorable, but few minor choices are forgettable. Music like Mishima Dojo, Jungle Outpost, Mishima Building, Abandoned Temple, Dual Mode Sirio, Infinite Azure, Hogwarts Estate, Cave of Enlightenment, and Eat Hey Shadow are one of Tekken 7's biggest soundtrack hits. What about balance? Tekken 7 had a unique balancing incident, where one time the game is super balanced, but all is thrown off, and then comes back balanced again. It constantly changed, shifting the power each season ended. Moving from balance, Tekken 7's customization was arguably the biggest downgrade ever since Tag 2. It barely has anything to offer to what Tekken 6 and Tag 2 offered. While it wasn't that bad, if you have a good sense of fashion, most of the time players relied on mods when it comes to customization. However, Tekken 7 was the first game to bring quote-unquote player customization, where you can customize your health bar, add a title below your name, and put themes in your information panel. There isn't much to say, but it was a welcoming addition to the game. But what about core tenets of what makes it a Tekken game? For this one we have to do it in chronological order. We will start with previous characters. Every major character still continue their grounded style martial arts given to them. Nothing has been changed for them aside from getting new movesets. As for new characters, surprisingly few newcomers such as Kazumi, Josie, Katarina, Lydia, Leroy and Farkamrum follow grounded style martial arts, with only few characters disobeying such rule, such as Noctis, Negan and Lucky Clo. These characters are designed to attract modern audience looking for something appealing and easy to use, so you could say the spirit of martial arts is still there. What about sound effects? Aside from new characters' voice actors, the game did not receive any update on sound effects at all. The music is really good, we've already examined it. What more can you say about it other than certified banger? We discussed the game modes as well. Unfortunately, the game was mostly focused for multiplayer as Tekken 7 was their last resort in getting their money back, so game modes were a less priority, therefore not much for offline content. The story was okay, it had few unnecessary moments, but the biggest highlight was definitely the final moments of the story. Not only was it memorable, but it also managed to address few plot holes. So, we've uncovered all the core aspects of Tekken 7. What about its bad side? Last game we've said Tekken 6 was a patient zero towards changing its direction from grounded style gameplay. Tekken 7 was pretty much an experiment ground for such practice. Characters like Noctis has proven that easier movesets with high reward. Colorful effects were quite successful in bringing casual audience and sales. This was proven further with characters like Fakuram and Kunamitsu having a total overhaul and visual identity of what makes a character in Tekken nowadays. This heavily dented the idea of high risk high reward, making character dedication useless and losing the respect of achieving hard combos. Why bother doing precise combos when you can spam it? 2D characters were also a huge issue as they did not respected the core engine of Tekken, allowing them to achieve death combos easily. This is due to 2D characters always starting their combos on the ground, compared to Tekken characters always launching first. This technique gives them 100% damage rate. Remember the Bob incident? Well, history did in fact repeated itself with Leroy. 7 Leroys in fact. Balance inconsistencies was one Tekken 7's biggest hurdles during its lifetime, completely ruining tournaments and online play with such balance issues. This inconsistency still continued with Fakuram as well as Marduk. The graphics.
Oh my goodness!
The game suffered the usual Unreal Engine 4 slop graphics treatment. It's not bad. In fact, it's better than previous titles, it's just that the lighting and shading is poorly implemented, giving them that glossy look. 51 characters. Good luck labbing them. Tekken 7 was the game where the quote-unquote true Tekken argument came to fruition after Noctis was added, shifting the need for an easier gameplay, cater to casual audience even further. Despite balancing issues, true Tekken argument and lack of customization or game modes, and despite all the financial hurdles, Tekken 7 managed to be the most successful Tekken game ever in history. It had an extraordinary competitive scene. With the rise of both new and old players, the game was very easily accessible. It also had a social media boom with content creators. Tekken 7 was also the only Tekken game that took advantage of the new live service meter, such as constant updates throughout the years, giving it more chance to improve as time moves. To top it all off, the game managed to hit a milestone of 12 million, which finally gave Namco the opportunity to use that funding for their next biggest Tekken. In conclusion, while lacking few major core factors of true Tekken, it still managed to be another great Tekken game emboldened with grounded martial arts. However, well, you've heard this many times now, but this where we hit the end of the road when it comes to grounded style gameplay. Before we finally address the main issue plaguing Tekken 8, we'll have to recap everything we discovered. Tekken 3 was the game that introduced the whole true Tekken element. Tekken 4, while still a true Tekken game, it was its own thing. Tekken 5 revisited the core aspects of Tekken 3 and improved on it, adding more stuff. Tekken 6, while it had its flaws like story, balance and just forgettable experience, it still offered suffice true Tekken element while exploring things outside of it. Tag 2 also had issues and failed to sell at all, but it still managed to stick to what made it a Tekken game in the first place. Tekken 7 suffered a massive budget cut and barely had features, but its balancing and new roadmap approach has successfully brought the franchise back from the dead. Now that we've collected all the core element of true Tekken, we can now truly define the meaning of this term. According to your boy Boofy, of course, true Tekken is a term describing a Tekken game that has all the traits and quirks that makes it a unique fighting game. Features such as Tekken fundamentals, grounded martial arts, game modes, customization, music and long-running story are all core elements that define the game in general. So what about Tekken 8? What does it offer? And what about the core tenets of true Tekken? We will start with positive changes. Tekken 8 will be the very first game to have one of the best graphics ever in a Tekken franchise. The muscle detail, the debris, facial expressions, the effects, the stages. Absolute chef's kiss. The story is kind of good. There are some goofy stuff, but it does have a good highlights like Fall and Destiny. The music is kind of mixed bag for me, but a lot of people love it, such as My Last Stand. The SFX got a massive overhaul. It sounds way beefier and Massive Impact. Now that we are done with positive changes, let's see what factors did this game fumbled on. We will start with grounded martial arts. Tekken 8 is the very first game to finally reconsider the identity of Tekken from grounded martial arts. Characters like Kazuya, who used to be heavily a martial arts character, now uses his devil powers frequently. Jin, who was known for denying his devil powers, now fully embraces it and looks way goofier than ever. Raven decided to become a stand user. And don't get me even started with Lars. Even characters who claims to follow martial arts barely even resemble one. As Asena claims to be an MMA fighter, but her goofy fighting sets fails to deliver that message. Victor is a character based on John Wick / Raiden, which sounds pretty cool, but his visual clutter and the absurd amount of teleportation hinders his personality as yet another anime character. Anna's whole shtick now is swinging her bazooka until something happens. And let's not forget Clive, a character literally no one asked for, nor was happy for, completely destroying the face of Tekken in general. It did manage to bring few newcomers, but that's the whole point. Simplicity over hard work. Now I'll admit this comes off as bit exaggerated, plus these are specific characters chosen. But if you look back and then come here, you can see how slowly the game has shifted its core design. Even Farkamura got his own flashy moves. But what about basic fundamentals of Tekken? This is where the True Tekken argument has got lit up by a huge margin. On my previous video I've covered how Season 2 ruined the balancing of the game, but what I haven't mentioned is how they've also literally removed basic fundamentals of Tekken completely, something that has kept going on this franchise until Tekken 8 Season 2. Things like Korean backdash, sidestepping, character weakness and high risk high reward were all removed in favor of simple minded and low risk high reward system, completely butchering the identity of Tekken. Another major issue with Tekken 8 is the heat system. Now if you ask me, I'm quite okay with the heat system. I just generally believe that it was poorly implemented without any proper consideration of defensive usage. The heat system is one of the most unpopular feature in Tekken 8, where it allows you to rush down your opponent by giving you special movesets and frame advantages without the risk of losing anything. It forces the opponent into a 50-50 casino gamble, where one mistake could cost your entire health bar. Another major problem with Tekken 8 is how the devs and fans treat each other. Tekken 8 is the first Tekken game that is specifically designed to somehow make you really frustrated. The lies, the doubling down, shutting mods down, poor quality of collabs, and daily Michael Murray meltdowns. And let's not forget about the fans' behavior as well. It's a complete war zone down there, soldier. It's really abysmal down here, guys. As of making of this video, Armor King is upon us in few days. And he already showcased his new stance, something we've all been tired of. His balance has yet to be answered yet, because time and time again, we've seen them lying about a lot of stuff.
I don't think it's funny anymore.
Now that we are truly done addressing the True Tekken definition, I will now answer the counter arguments made by people who deny the True Tekken element. The first argument is the inclusion of non-human characters. This is one of the most common arguments I hear every day about it. The truth is that Tekken's appeal comes in parts from its diverse character lineup, such as including animals, Yoshi, and supernatural beings. They also surprisingly do actual martial arts, Roger is a boxer. Kuma literally does Mishima Ryu. Yoshi is a ninja. And Ogre is a master of all-rounder martial arts. This variety sets Tekken apart in casual perspective from other fighting games, hence why they exist. Another argument users bring up is how grounded can a Tekken game can be. The thing is, we've seen that happen with Tekken 4 and 8, and obviously it was met with backlash. Tekken 4 was criticized for being way too serious. Tekken 8 is now suffering from being too flashy. So what is the balance between the two? It would be something from Tekken 5. Light-hearted in few aspects, and serious in its main aspects. A game that has a serious theme, but at heart it's a video game, meant for enjoying in general. Third argument is the one we explored throughout this video, identity and casual catering. Yes, to play the devil's advocate, Tekken does in fact, losing its identity, but not the way the community exaggerates it. It is a very slow process, started from Tekken 6. As we all know, fighting games is a bit of a hardcore genre.
What the fuck?
Similar to milsim shooters, they are not like McDonald's, where you eat the slop and be done with it. It requires skill, attention, and patience. However, this kind of genre heavily depends on hardcore fans, who are most of the time a minority group within the huge saturated market of games. This makes it hard for the franchise to thrive, so to milk it effectively and efficiently, they will try to cater to fans who like slop in general, that being flashy things like easy controls and colorful visuals. It is a hard to swallow fact, but this is reality of business in general. You and I may not like it, but that's how business in general works. Alice remains with 40 defense getting Tekken God ranks is systematic. And that concludes our journey in rediscovering what True Tekken meant and how this game has shifted its demographic throughout the time. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took me forever to make this, so I appreciate it. If you drop a like, subscribe and comment down below of what you think the True Tekken definition is. Stay tuned for more videos like this, and as always, see you again in yet another Namco fumble. Lol.